Hey everybody, today we were making the starter Pokemon, so let's get started. I'm going to start with Bulbasaur, and I'm making this one outside because it's Bulbasaur, obviously. I'm starting with the legs. This part is pretty easy, just make little stubs. Gotta blend them in. This part takes a little bit of time to do, but in the end it's pretty worth it because it looks pretty good. So I'm doing the other arm, and then I'm going to start with the back legs. So for the back legs, I kind of just make balls and then like a flattened piece of clay and just put it on the bottom to make his like little feet. And yeah, that's the body mostly done. Next, I'm going to work on the claws, toenails, I'm not sure. So we're going to work on this part is a little tedious to make, but I made the front, and so let's make the back. This part is a little annoying to make, but you can see it took a little bit. Let's continue. So right now I'm making the head of the Bulbasaur. It took me a couple of tries to make the head because it was pretty difficult, but I think I got the whole shape right. Next we're making the mouth of Bulbasaur. So I just flatten some clay out and I make a mouth kind of in like lips. It kind of looks like lips. I put that on. I'm making the tongue next. This part is pretty easy. You kind of get like half a circle, but you got to get like the right size, and I put it on there. Next we're doing the eyes. This part took me a little bit to get the shape right. It was kind of hard. I don't know if I put the clip in, but it took me a couple tries, but there's that eye, and here's the next eye. And now we're going to be working on like the iris. So I'm using some red for that. And just make it into like a little circle and put it there. I'm gonna make him looking at like the right because I don't know, I'm trying to kind of do a pose for him kind of little, I'm not sure. After that we're doing the other iris, so basically the same thing but a little smaller because it's gonna be on like the right side. After that we're doing the pupil, a little white, and his eyes are finished. Just adding some little details. And now we're making the teeth. This part is easy, it's just like the claws. Gotta put them on. And then yeah, his head's basically done. We gotta add the ears and paint it. So right now I'm adding the ears. This part is pretty easy. You just kind of make a little triangles, and I have to smoothen it into the head. I'm not a big fan of like smoothing things into the clay. It's kind of hard to do. But after we get the ears on, we're making the bulb on the Bulbasaur. I think that's what it's called. So this part is pretty, it was kind of easy, kind of hard. So I had to mix some white to make it a little lighter. And so it's kind of like, it looks kind of like a pumpkin. It's like a green pumpkin kind of, and you gotta make the little leaves coming out. I'm using the ballpoint for that. Smushing it in and then pushing it in. Kind of get it to make like a rose type look. It looks kind of like a rose now. Alright, and we're adding a little few more details. We were adding the little like leaf ends to it. This part was pretty easy. And we are done. We're gonna bake it now and paint. Alright, so we're back inside and we're gonna start painting this thing. I've recently started to paint more of my figures because I'm trying to get better at like painting. So I'm painting his head right now with a green. I mixed like green and blue, and it looked pretty good, the color. So this is painting his head, and now we're painting the body. So we got the front legs and the back hind legs that we are going to be painting, and also his like torso. Okay, and after we are done painting it, we are going to glue his head onto his body. So let's do that. So I got my super glue, and I'm going to put a little blotch of glue and put his head on. And he is done. Bulbasaur is done. Now let's start with Charmander. For Charmander, I'm going to use some orange for this, and I'm going to start off by making the body. This part is pretty simple. You guys can just, kind of looks like a sausage, like I said. And we are making the legs right now. This part was kind of easy and hard. Kind of get the shape right. But, I think I got it pretty right. And yeah. make the other leg, and the legs are done. So let's start making the arms. This part was pretty easy. You just kind of make a worm and then cut it, and you add its little fingers that he has. That pretty easy to make, pretty simple, and you're gonna do it with the other hand. But first, for this one, gotta like poke the fingers to get it into shape, and we have to add on the picture he had a thumb. I'm not too sure though, but I added a thumb to it anyways, just in case. So we're making the other hand right now. I'm doing the same thing, gonna poke and prod it to kind of get it into shape, and we are gonna start smoothing it in, adding a few more details, adding the thumb. Not totally sure if he has a thumb. Some pictures he did, some he didn't, but I'm just leaving it on there. And so now we're gonna actually put him on the torso. After that, we're gonna start with the head. The head was kind of hard to make to get the shape right, but it kind of looks like a Charizard. But that won't really matter because we are gonna be burning him with the match anyway, so he's gonna be pretty burnt. You're not gonna really recognize him. So I'm smoothing the face in, the mouth in, and I'm gonna be adding some dark purple into the mouth, so let's do that. So I got the dark purple, and I'm gonna cut a little square and put it in the mouth, and I gotta cut the edges off of it. And do the same thing for the bottom. After this, we are gonna add his lips, because he doesn't have lips, but like you can still see the purple in it. So we're just gonna add this to kind of cover it up so you can't see it as much. So we're gonna do that for the bottom jaw and then the upper part. This part is pretty easy. I had like a dental tool to use that I got, and it works pretty well. This is the first time I'm ever using it, and I'm pretty happy with it. It works. After this, we're gonna add the teeth, and in a few moments you'll kind of see what I mean when I say it looks like a Charizard. Like, as you can see, it does look like a Charizard. But yeah, it's fine, I guess. His face is gonna be burned, so yeah. And after this, we're gonna make the eyes. I made his eyes a little too big. If I could go back, I'd probably make them smaller, but I can't. And we're gonna make the eyes, and he's gonna be looking to the left on this one. I'm not sure why. I'm just kind of making him in like different poses, positions, because I'm trying to like try stuff out. So we're gonna do the first eye, and then the second eye. And iris, and then the little white. Alright, after this, we're gonna make his tail. And the tail is pretty easy. The tricky part was getting the match in there, but I think I got it in there pretty good. And I'm not gonna bake it with the match because I don't want to break it or something happen to it. So I'm gonna take it out after I bake it. But I'm making the belly right now. I'm using like a light yellow, kind of like a pastel yellow. We're gonna put that on the body. Cut some of the edges off because it was a little too big, so we gotta make it kind of fit. And the tail, cut it off the legs, and we're gonna be moving on to the toenails of Charmander. So let's start with that. So for the toenails, same thing with Bulbasaur actually, just kind of make them into like little cones, cut them off, and then put them onto the feet. We're basically done with Charmander, so now I'm gonna probably put it in the oven, bake it, and then glue it on. So let's do that. Now that Charmander is baked, we can glue his head on. So let's get some super glue and put some super glue on it. And then get his head, and boom, Charmander is done, and his match is super glued in there, so he's ready to be lit on fire when we're done. So next, let's move on to Squirtle. So for Squirtle, I'm going to start with the shell. I'm going to start making like the front part of it and the back. So the front part is pretty easy. You make like a oval and you cut it in half. So I'm doing that right now, squishing it and cutting it. And so next we are going to work on the details in the front, like the little indents in it, and I'm using my dentist tool for that. After that, we're going to work on the back of the shell, and I'm just using brown for this because it matches pretty well. I'm going to do the same thing like I did for the front, just make an oval and cut it in half, and putting it on the back. Next, I'm adding the little indents that it has, trying to put some detail into it, and then we're going to work on like the white part on the side of the shell. So this, you just kind of make like a little worm, and then just kind of put it on there. It's not very complicated. Alright, so after this I'm going to start working on the legs. So I'm going to use just some blue. I know it's a little too dark, but it's all I had. So I'm going to use this to start making the legs. I cut it into little sections so I can use it as the tail, the legs, and the arm. So the legs are basically similar to the Charmander ones, just blue. And so we're going to just kind of do the same thing we did like before and cut it and put it in. We're doing the same thing with the other leg. I'm just trying to readjust it, put it in right. And after that, we're going to work on the tail. There's the tail. I did this part off camera. And now we're going to start working on the arms. This part is also very similar to Charmander, but just blue. So I'm going to do the same thing I did to make Charmander, but this time here. And I did not add thumbs to this one, because there was no thumbs in the picture. So I'm going to do that hand, the other hand. And then I'm just going to try and like readjust it to make it fit right on there. Like it was too forward, so I had to push it back a little bit. And there we go. Now we're going to start working on the head. This part was very, very easy. I mean, his head is just kind of a circle, so it wasn't very hard to make. And so we're just going to be making a circle, and then I use my dentist tool to make the mouth on him, and then I flatten it. So as you can see, we're doing that right now, making his mouth. And I'm going to actually lower the bottom part, so it kind of looks like the thing on it is coming out more. Before we do that, we're gonna start with the eyes. The eyes were pretty easy to make. Same thing, oval, cut in half, and then you have the eyes. So we're doing that for both sides. And then, yeah, just flattening them out. Next, we're going to be making the iris of him. This Squirtle is probably the easiest one to make, because he's just very simple. So this one didn't take as long as I thought it would. And I'm going to make him looking to the left, because, I don't know. We're adding a little white dot in his eye, and he's basically done. I'm gonna put a little more detail into him, like I'm gonna lower the bottom jaw to add a little more, and then we're gonna put some indents, and he's ready to get into the oven. So after he's done, we're going to super glue his tail and head on. I'm gonna try to make a feature to make it squirt water. Alright, so I figured it out. So I drilled a hole in his mouth, and I got a syringe and put it in there. Now that we're done, it's time to light Charmander on fire. This is the aftermath. Only his face was burnt, and then this broke off. Thank you guys for watching the video, and comment down below what you think I should make next or do, and don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps out. Peace, thank you guys for watching.